Hi guys, this is Crossy of Eclipse Gaming TV and welcome to Crossy's Corner, which is kind of like my podcast talk show type thing, which is basically me rambling at you for 10-15 minutes at a time, which is something I'm usually pretty good at, don't have any problems with for the most part, but this is a fairly new feature, so anything that you'd like me to do to improve it and refine it in the future, then please do let me know. And the topic for today, as you can probably see scrolling across the top of the screen, is competitive gaming, or eSports as it's sometimes known. Is that a good career choice? A couple of quick points to tick off. Is it something that can be done? Yes. Is it something I could do personally? Yes, it probably is, although it's going to be a little tougher for me, and for reasons I'll explain. And would I do it in my own situation? No, almost definitely not. So what I'll do to begin with is I'll give you a bit of a backstory for those of you that don't know about where I stand in gaming. Maybe touch on why I think I've got authority to talk about this, whether you agree on that or not, I have no idea, and give you a bit of background there, and then we'll link back to my example when I talk about how you guys could potentially take it on, the pitfalls, etc. And I'll try and give you a bit of a view. Like anything, it's not easy. It's nothing that can't be done without a lot of hard work, which I'll touch on very quickly. But if you wanted to make a career in gaming, with everything going in the right direction, yes, you could make it happen. Like most things, though, to be honest. And I'll start off with my own example. For those of you that don't know, I've been a competitive gamer for getting on for, over 10 years now. When I first started really getting into playing competitively and in teams, it was a long time ago. Back in 2003, Rainbow Six Raven Shield came out, which was the sequel to the game Rogue Spear that I'd started playing. I was playing in a team as such, but team was pretty much we'd all jump on a team speak and play together, but it wasn't really all that competitive. So that was my first lead in. Raven Shield was a Tom Clancy game from Ubisoft. Really good game. It was kind of a very slow pace compared to anything that's out at the moment, quite tactical. But what it actually came down to was pre-firing corners, running and gunning, and you're dealing with recoil spray patterns, which are, well, let's put it this way. If you were a trained SWAT unit or something along that sort of line, I wouldn't expect your guns to be recoiling quite the way they did in this game. But it made it exciting, and I absolutely loved it. And from that point, I started off playing, and it was an odd one because the European scene was miles and miles behind the American scene. So what I found very quickly is I had an affinity for the game. I was playing stack loads of it, and I moved very quickly from playing in a European team to an American team. And in 2003, going back 10 years, I will have been sort of 14, 15, that sort of age, staying up till 4 in the morning, as I could get away with at that age, playing matches with my American team, and there's a couple of other English guys in that team, so it was kind of the way you went. If you got to any kind of level, you joined an American team, and I ended up playing in a team that was quite regularly top 5 in America. In the it was a ladder format at the time, and we'd frequently hold the top 5 spot in pretty much all of the game types. You could play 1v1, 2v2, 5v5, etc. So a lot of options there, and that's where I started out. Unfortunately with that, the game got overrun by hackers and pretty much died away, and players moved on to other things. I then moved on to Black Hawk Down. And I can't even remember who that's made by offhand, unfortunately. And from that, it was fairly slow progress. I was playing with a few guys from school. It was a complete transformation from my slow-paced game. Black Hawk Down was very fast-paced. You had to shoot ahead of people. You had to properly lead your shots by about 1 inch, 2 inches in front of them to be able to get the kill. It was in a very big map rather than confined close quarters stuff like Raven Shield, so it took me quite a while to actually pick that up and sort of get used to the new game, but I did, and I moved into a team that was one of the top 5 teams in Europe, you could argue. I don't think we actually lost the match when I was playing for them, but you look at the win record, it was over 100 wins and about 5 losses, I think, that we got handed in our whole time playing together. And I was in a few other teams sort of before and after that as well, and again got to a very high level in it. Since that, though, again, game got overrun by hackers. A few anti-cheat softwares came out and the like, but from that point it was pretty much ruined. I think the stats that someone gave was about 70% of the people that played the game were hacking, which really ruined it. And pretty much any player of any kind of standard, including the guys that I'd played with that had been at the top for a long time, were called into question. To be honest, I don't know who was cheating and who wasn't. You really can't tell. It just got that bad for it. And there was no sort of proper official anti-cheat software that you were forced to use. So exploits left, right and centre on that, which is a real shame. But again, that went that way. I shifted over along with one of my friends who I'm still playing with, who was in that team with me, the top 5 European team. Again, a school friend, probably going to be best man at my wedding. Don't tell him that. So yeah, at least one friendship stayed through that. But we all moved over to Counter-Strike Source. I was terrible at it. I was terrible for years at it. You watch me playing CSGO now, you could say I'm still terrible at it, but that's for another debate. But what I found out worked for me is that I moved into commentary, or shoutcasting as it was called at the time, and managed to push myself up to a point when there were petitions to get me into major tournaments. I was hailed as one of the best commentators in Europe in Counter-Strike or first-person shooters at the time, which is all pretty exciting. But we're going back to, we're probably going back to the mid-2000s here. I can't even think offhand. In fact, what I'll do is I'll do a quick look at when this happened. So yeah, going back to early 2007, I'd started out in commentary, working with a few people. One of note is Richard Lewis, who was formerly of Cadred and Heaven Media, now working at Daily Dot, I believe, and he's getting a real following behind him. Was one of the people that I was working with, and of course his career in gaming has transformed. One of the most respected eSports journalists out there, so fair play, he's gone on leaps and bounds. But the problem you had then is commentary and streaming was quite a new thing. You haven't got the likes of Twitch, YouTube. It was there, but it was nowhere near as prominent. Internet connections weren't good enough to stream, so you'd have to have some kind of setup in mainland Europe to be able to work it. And long story short, it didn't happen. I didn't have the resources and the like, and because of the petitions and the pushes to try and get me into the major LAN tournaments that were running at the time, it then put me in the bad books of the main company that pretty much controlled everything, had all the means and the access. So I didn't have any personal animosity towards them, but I ended up getting roped into stuff, and chances are, even if I did go and put in an application and try and go to them, well, one, it would have looked like I was selling out, I think, which might have lost me sort of a bit of a following in itself, and two, it might not have been particularly well received, I would say. So that caused a few problems. And up until then, I've done a few LAN events, LAN finals, ESEA LAN in the USA. I've been involved in that, which is the biggest LAN event in North America. Some of the multiplayer iSeries events here. I've been involved in grand finals there. One of them was an absolute train wreck, to be honest, which won't have helped my situation too much. And then since then, I've drifted in and out and done bits here and there, commentary wise. The general feedback I get is I've still got it. Kind of referring to people that were around when I was being hailed one of the best in Europe at the time. Make of that what you will. I'm a little more realistic, I think. I'm usually my own biggest critic, and when I listen back to some of my stuff from the time when I was, hailed as that, and to my time now, I listen back and I cringe listening to some of the things I've said. So I don't know. Maybe people got swept away with it a bit too much. Maybe it's because the competition wasn't all that great. But yeah, long story short, I don't think I was quite at the level that I was hailed to be. But it leaves me in this situation. Where could I go as far as making a push in competitive gaming? Well, I'm 25, pushing 26, which is very old in gaming terms. So the chances of me making it into a top flight team in any kind of game, it's going to be tough. I would have to put in a lot of practice time, which comes to be the big issue, which we'll touch on a bit later, which I haven't got. So that means the only other option I've got really is to try and do something along the commentary line. And there have been talks of people that have moved and worked with ESL, which means moving out to Germany, etc., etc. It's quite a big step. And then to get to that point, I'd have to put a lot of momentum behind me, get followers, make use of streaming sites and YouTube to build that following so that I've got something behind me. And then suddenly it's not just you're getting a great commentator, you're getting a great commentator that's bringing across a lot of following to begin with. And then to get to that point of being a great commentator, well, I'm not going to do that by jumping in and doing the odd event here once every 3 months. So from a personal point of view, looking at it, even if an offer is on the table with current situations, I mean, at the moment I've worked for an insurance company in my main job for the last 7 years, made it to a management position. I'm running my own department. So for me, looking at it, the financial aspect, the promotion prospects, the job security is all going to be better in my current position. If I have to move out of the country, it's quite an issue for me because I've got, I'm in a long-term relationship, been going 9 months and still going strong. And my girlfriend's working full-time and has no interest in gaming whatsoever and can't speak German, for example. So that route would be completely off the table for me. And it kind of leaves me in that boat of, if the offer was on the table and I could make competitive gaming my career, would I take it? On balance, I would have to say, as much as I would love to do it, from where I'm at to where it would put me, it would be, I would say, a major step back. Of course, if the financial package was good enough, I could maybe change my mind. But gaming is big and growing all the time. I don't think it's quite that big yet. So yeah, I think my chances are well and truly put to bed. But that doesn't mean that it wouldn't be there if I wanted it, if I wanted to push for it. And a lot of people have gone that way. So this is how we... and this is where we go on to the main discussions about how you could potentially get into it. So what you could do to start with is to start to work on your gaming level and do it as a player. Way back in the day when I was commentating and still taking it quite seriously, there was a thing called the Championship Gaming Series where they had a draft and then players were picked up by franchises, and those players were earning sort of 35 grand a year on their contract, which is no small amount of money by any stretch. During its second season, the Championship Gaming Series completely disappeared and the websites went down and there was very little talk, and no one, aside from those that were really close to it, really knew what happened with it to this day, I don't think. Either that or they've been held under some non-disclosure agreement. But yeah, you could say that was a little bit too soon. But there is a lot of sponsorship money kicking around. And for example, you might find that even at a lower level, there'll be teams that have sponsorship where they can send you to a LAN event. That might come with it, say, hotel and drinks or something like that. Or you might end up getting a free ticket, but you have to sleep in a tent or something like that. But there are avenues where you can get sent to these events, and then there's a chance of prize money. This is at the fairly lower level, and then you can progress all the way to the point where you're getting sent to events, etc., etc., and you're also earning a salary. You're talking very high end here. He'd be talking the likes of, I was going to say Very Games, but they are no more. Ninjas in Pyjamas, who are probably the biggest scene in Counter-Strike Global Offensive, are no doubt tied to some kind of salary. What kind of money it is, I don't know, but Yeah, that's one thing. In StarCraft, for example, there are houses which house the players, so you've got accommodation thrown into that. So even if you're not earning a huge amount of money, the things that go into, or the things that for us normal folk have to pay, like rent, bills, food, etc., that can be taken care of. So any money that you're getting is going in your pocket. Expenses like running a car, which is never cheap, to put petrol in it, insurance, tax, all that stuff can be taken out of the equation. So actually, even though the money that you're earning might not be amazing, you've got pretty much everything paid for. So anything that you do need is going into your pocket, and then all you've got to worry about is concentrating on your gaming side of things. The reason why this is quite tough to get into and why this is a difficult route is, one, you've got to put in the time, which means you've got to be spending 4 to 6 hours. Well, let me take that back. You've pretty much got to be doing full-time hours. So if you're playing with a team, you can sit down at 7, 8 o'clock to play matches. You could easily go through till 12. So you could spend 5 hours just playing competitive matches, and then you've also got to work in the extra time. So you've got to be playing death matches, for example. You've got to be practicing. You've got to be working on your muscle memory. You've got to be eating right. There was a really, really good piece that came out years ago that Vinny H wrote for Cadred, and I don't know if you can still find it, about gaming nutrition and how important that is for performance stats, and there's a lot of that coming into it as well. You can't just sit there chugging energy drinks all day. You've got to have a proper balanced diet and then drink water rather than Red Bull in order to keep your reactions at their sharpest, and you've really got to go into it in that kind of detail. When you look at this and you say, right, I want to have a career in gaming because I love playing games. This is your job now. This is your source of income, or potentially going to be your source of income. You've got to get your big break first of all, and then once you get there, you've got to keep playing at your optimum level just to keep your space in the squad, because there are teams putting money into you, investing in you. There are companies out there that are investing in you, the sponsors. And the reason they do it, well, they're taking it out of a marketing budget. There's no other way for it. If you are sponsoring one of the best teams in the world at League of Legends, for example, and they are using your merchandise up on the stage, yeah, okay, fair enough, it might be 5 lots of £100 headsets that they're wearing, but that's £100 headsets if you were buying them from a shop. These guys are making them for much cheaper, they're making profit, etc. So to bang those on the heads of 5 players, it's not a huge cost to them. But anyone that's watching that game, watching that finals, will see on the cameras they are wearing these amazing headsets from whichever company, and then suddenly there are players out there that think, right, if they've got those headsets, that's what I want. That's what I want to get to that level. And it's strange how that works, but it works at any level. If you're a tennis player, you want Rafael Nadal's racket because of how good he is. For example, you love what he does on the court. You might want Cristiano Ronaldo's boots because he scored 30 goals last season, for example. But it happens, and people buy into that, and people who are gamers will definitely buy into that as well. You find they're all posting on their forums and their signatures what gear they've got, and it's quite a big thing. It's kind of like a status thing. Do you prefer this to this? And musicians are the same. You'll find that Eric Clapton, for example, will play Stratocasters from Fender. You'll find Joe Bonamassa, throwing a name out there, will play Gibson Les Pauls. They've all got their special preference guitars, and then if they play the kind of music you like, you're going to be more drawn to owning that guitar so you can sound like that guy. All these things come into it. So yeah, danced away from the point a little bit there, sorry about that, but what it all comes down to is how much money could they draw from you. And then, of course, if they're sending you to these events, giving money for hotels, flights, tickets, all that sort of stuff, they need to see results, not necessarily because of prize money coming in. They don't really care about that. It's coming out of a marketing budget. But if they are using it for marketing, they need to be seeing results in order to get the exposure, in order to sell those products. So if your team isn't getting to the final stage as often as they should be, and you're described as the weak link in that team, mainly because you're trying to have a social life and amongst other things. You end up missing practices, you know, starting your warm-ups in the morning with a hangover, that sort of thing. Not good. Not good at all. So you have to really work at it just to get your foot in the door, and then you have to work harder than the next guy just to make sure that you keep that spot and you're at the right level and you're still improving, which is really difficult. Which basically means you are playing effectively full-time. You can be working 40 hours a week on your game just to try and push to get into that top team. So, yeah, I mean, if you're at the point where I was at when I was first starting out in my commentary side of things, where I was only at college, living at home, no real expenses, my parents weren't in a huge push to kick me out. So at that time, yeah, my money was mine, what little bit I could pick up. I probably could have worked like a part-time job and concentrated on commentating and gone on from there. If you can get yourself in the same boat where you can really put the hours in, you haven't got many outgoings, etc, etc, which means you're younger, you're like 17, 18, maybe younger, then you can get away with putting that time in, and you may well come away with something. But you can't see this as being a game. It's a job. It's a commitment. It's a huge commitment to commit, say, 40 hours plus a week to playing a game, and it can take the fun out of it. It's like anything. You know, even if you do something that you enjoy, which was a hobby, it can very quickly become a job, not something that you enjoy. It's not a hobby that you're getting paid for as such. It can very quickly become a job, and no one likes a job, do they? I mean, you turn up, you punch a card, you find something where you don't hate it. You don't wake up in the morning and think, oh, I really don't want to go to work. But that is about as far as you can get. That sort of job satisfaction at its best. It's very rare for you to get to the point where you do something that you love that never feels like a chore, regardless of what you're getting paid for it, which is which is a challenge. So that's the gaming side of things, and really all you can do is crack on, play competitively, play as much as you can, make improvements, work out where your strengths and weaknesses are, which means recording your play, watching it back, trying to find things, perfecting, polishing, being very realistic about what level you're at, trying to improve, trying to get yourself into a better team or improve your teammates around you if it's a team game, because any work you can do to help them helps your team, which helps you because you're getting better results, etc, etc. You're getting noticed, you're getting exposure, you're getting people taking notice of you. It can all come, but as you can tell, I'm only really touching on it, but there is so much legwork you have to put in to get to that point, and you can do all of that and spend 18 months, 2 years of your life just focusing on gaming, mugging off nights out with your friends or trips to the cinema or whatever it is, so you can play games in the middle of summer when people have got summer holidays, say, and they're out kicking a football in the park. You're sitting in playing games in 30-degree heat, sweating your nuts off. That is what you have to do. That's what Heaton did. That's what any player really that you can think of will have done to get to the point that they were at. And if you're willing to do that, hey, fantastic. And you probably have half a chance of getting your foot in the door. If you don't, then making it as a competitive gamer probably isn't going to be the thing for you. Another option just to throw out there. Okay, fair enough. Maybe you don't fancy doing it as a player. Maybe you could start your own organisation to get sponsors and make money that way, etc. No, just rule that out. Gaming organisations do not make a lot of money. You are not going to get rich that way. You're going to spend a lot of hours on it. You're going to find players will let you down. You're going to find sponsors let you down, don't pay you. You can't pay your players. You get people hacked off at you. It's a minefield. And this isn't going off my own personal experience, really, because I haven't done it to that sort of level. Actually, I take that back. I've done some management work in the past, and after sending out something like 150 personalised proposals to companies looking for sponsors and getting nothing back, yeah, I've been there and I've done it. It is a hard slog, and you do not get the results you need. Worst case, really, or the best you can really hope for it is if you've got money kicking around, you throw it out there to send a team to a LAN event, they will take that free ticket off you and anything else that you throw at them, and you can't guarantee that they're going to get the performance in. You're basically sending a good mixed team if you do that. How much time are they going to put in? It's really tough to tell. They're more likely just taking a free ride off you. Sad but true. So rule that out, I would say. And then you've also got, I think the other option that's quite a good one is, well, you can either do this as your main thing, or you can do this as a byproduct of what you're doing on the playing side, and you might find that one comes with the other or not. It doesn't really matter how you work it. What you're seeing a lot is using Twitch TV and sites like that where you can do streaming. Internet connections are at the point when streaming is possible. In the UK, unless you've got fibre optic, BT Infinity or something like that, it's still an issue, and that still isn't in a lot of areas, which is a shame. But if you're in mainland Europe, for example, where they laid fibre rather than copper pipes down for the phone systems, then yes, you've got a good internet connection. You would be able to stream, which is quite a big thing. And then for the likes of Twitch TV, you've got the chance for people to subscribe for a small amount, a couple of pounds, that sort of thing, which tends to rack up if you get popular. You've got ad revenue, again, if you get popular. You've got donations. I've seen people get hundreds of dollars from one person as a donation, which is pretty special in itself. I hate to sort of make a gender comment, and I've done quite a lot of work with female gaming along that kind of line, so this isn't from a real sexist standpoint. Trust me, you know, I'm massively in support of female gamers, but if you are a female gamer, you've got a lot more chance on the streaming side of things, especially if you put your picture up in the bottom right hand corner, because straight away from that you're going to get people that are interested in you and want to at least check out your material. I mean, I've kind of gone on the same line because I'm in support of females in gaming. I've jumped onto a channel for that reason, and then sort of checked it out and generally found the material isn't actually that interesting, and I've switched off. But you'll find that there are plenty of guys out there, especially those that spend most of their free time camped behind a computer playing games, that will end up having to resort to that and throwing hundreds of dollars at you to try and get your attention, which it's one way of doing it, I guess you could say. And for someone like me to do it, well, I'd have to actually be interesting and exciting and for people to want to listen to me in order for that to happen. And from a personal standpoint, the reason why I tend to pump for the female gamers, if I'm just looking for something to watch on Twitch, is because they stand out, not for any other reason. I'm not going to click on a random CSGO player or a random League of Legends player because I do not know what I'm getting at all, which is part of the issue. But if you can get on there and you can build yourself up a following with the likes of Reddit, Twitter, social media, you can get people watching you. And then the other benefit from Twitch is that you can use that and you can highlight stuff and you can upload that straight to YouTube. Same thing with YouTube. You've got ad revenues, etc. You've got means of making money. There are people out there that end up making a career just out of uploading videos, walkthroughs, commentaries, that sort of thing. I mean, there's one guy I watch, iFrames. Not sure what kind of money he makes out of it, to be honest. But and of course, anyone that is on YouTube has to be quite cagey about what they earn out of it as well, or YouTube will pick up on it. But he said that he's earned more money from gaming and using YouTube than he has from any job that he's worked in the past by quite some way. And iFrames is someone I'm a huge fan of, find him very entertaining, and he does game playthroughs and with commentary behind it. Again, with that, I was looking at a certain game, can't remember what it was. His channel was first one in the list. I went onto it, watched it, and I was a huge fan of what he did. And as a result of that, I don't really go anywhere else for my commentaries. But that could easily have been any one of 200 people that I might have settled on and thought, yes, I like this guy, and I could have watched all of their videos and not had a clue who iFreams is. So it's a real balancing act, and again, you've got a huge market to play with, but you've also got to get yourself up there for them to check you out in the first place, which is tough. But those are the two routes that I can really think of. If you want to go my route and do commentary, well, again, your main hope is to pick up the revenue you get from like a Twitch or a YouTube channel. You might get some free events out of it. You might get flown to an event, get put up in a hotel, of course get a free ticket, but that's probably all that you get to have out of it. So you might get a nice free holiday to Sweden to DreamHack or something along that kind of line. As far as getting paid for it, I will quite readily admit how long have I been doing commentary now? 10 years on and off. I've never actually got paid for doing a commentary. There was talk about getting 50 quid a night for one thing. Again, quite a few years ago, but that didn't come into fruition. Is there an hourly rate you can charge as a commentator? Well, no, probably not, because as we talked about, streaming is so readily available. Why would they come and pay me or someone else to commentate an event when they could quite easily just find someone with a half decent internet connection that knows about the game and get them to talk about it for free? Which is quite within their rights to do it. It's so easy for anyone now, if they fancy doing a bit of commentary, to throw up a stream and bring you the action. And as long as they know about the game, they can make it interesting and enjoyable. And there are some really good commentators out there. Let's see, this weekend just gone, I was involved in the ESWC CSGO women's finals. I've put in quite a bit of time over the years on female gaming, and it was something I wanted to be a part of. But unfortunately, I could only do the finals on the Saturday morning. I missed the Wednesday to Friday action, and they had 3 or 4 girls that jumped in, and none of them are really professional commentators as such, or what you'd call professional, which I think they sort of expected me to be. Professional but rusty, I think you could say. And they all did a really good job of it, because you got people that played the game for a long time, that have got the knowledge, that will have seen so much commentary action out there that they just had a clue of what they needed to do when, and followed each other's lead, and it was all really good stuff. And I felt a bit guilty to be jumping in last minute into the final, really, because I'd missed all of the action. I hadn't been there for any of it, so I was missing a few talking points, and yeah, felt a bit wrong to be jumping in there when all the hard work was done by other people. But you know, as you say, things are growing. Viewer numbers are constantly on the rise. There is always a cry out for more top level commentators. I had plenty of times where there's been comments about the standard that's out there. So if you wanted to make your money that way, then fair enough. I would say go for it. If you've got knowledge of a particular game, or a game type, you've been playing for a number of years, and then you've got a half decent, exciting, engaging voice, then you know you've got a chance, every chance to make it in the commentary side of things. And then you can start it slow. You can do like 1 match a night or something, throw it up on YouTube, throw it up on Reddit. You know, just try and get your name out there and start it slow and build it up. And if it starts to go somewhere, then by all means, crack on and see where it pushes on to. And maybe with time, you can get yourself to that position where you can sort of work a part-time job and then focus on your commentary for the other time, or whatever, however you want to work it. But if you want to go that route, just to give you a heads up, there are people that have been posting on YouTube for 4 or 5 years before they've got to this point of properly being able to treat it as their full-time thing in music, in gaming, in various other ways. So you do have to put a lot of time in over a long period of time. You've got to build it up, And then you'll find that you start off getting 100 subscribers, 1,000 subscribers, 10,000 subscribers, 100,000. It does grow eventually, but you just got to keep ramming it down people's throats, putting out material that people want to see, keeping it out there, and things will come. But it's a lot of legwork, I can tell you that. And yeah, it's like anything. If you have enough passion for something that you can put the legwork in, put the time in to keep yourself either playing every single day for 5-6 hours or more, or you got the time to keep uploading videos and keep streaming, etc., etc., then you have as much chance as anyone to make yourself enough money to be able to survive. And if that is your plan, then maybe say if you're still living at home and paying little to no rent, and maybe you just need to feed yourself, you don't try and run a car or anything like that, then there's every chance you can make enough money to sustain yourself, and then you might see it grow and grow and build up, and you can get more out of it. But the difference between doing that and then taking a regular job with a salary, you know how much you're going to get in your paycheck every month, where you've got promotion prospects, you've got job security, you know what you're going to get in your paycheck as a minimum every month, and then any bonus and commission you earn on top of that. There's a lot to be said for that, and having that stability is what pays bills, pays rent, pays mortgages, and will probably get you there quicker and with less work, less sweat that's gone into it. But is that for everyone? Well, from a personal point of view, I've got myself into a position where I don't love my job, but I enjoy it. I wake up every single morning and I don't think, oh God, I don't want to be doing this. I don't think, yeah, okay, let's do this, let's get some work in. But you know, I don't dislike what I do. And as a result of that, it means that for the Eclipse Gaming TV channel, progress is a little bit slow. There can be times where I disappear for a week, 2 weeks, 6 weeks, as it was. I don't want to go back to that point by any stretch, where there's no videos coming out. Then yeah, that can happen. It does come with the territory, unfortunately, and there's no real way I can get around that. But it's the way that things go, and I've made my choice as such, and there's probably not a whole lot else I can do to get around that, unless I was to quit my job, switch to something part-time, move back to my parents, pay little to no rent, probably scrap the car and just ride a bike everywhere. It would be so much stuff to give up. 7 years working in the company I'm at, gone. All the working I've got to try and push into further promotions and really get towards the top of the company, gone. All of that is written off to chase a dream that might not go anywhere, or will probably end up earning less money that I'm earning now. So you have to look at your own situation. You have to work out if it's right for you. You have to work out if you've left it too late. From a personal point of view, yes, I probably have. At the time when I was sort of in my prime, as far as commentary goes, was probably 5 years too early. If the streaming sort of revolution that was running now was in place when I was still living at home with my parents, then yes, potentially I could have done more with it, but no such luck. So that's from a personal point of view. And maybe, unfortunately, some of you guys are going to sit there and watch this and think, yeah, I'm too old, or I can't give up what I've got now, or something along that line. Or you might think, wow, actually that's going to be harder work than I thought, and I could do all that for nothing, all in all. That's the trouble. If things do go wrong and you spend all your time gaming, and then you try and get a job at the end of that, and you're sitting there saying, what have you done for the last 3-4 years? Well, I tried to make a career in gaming and it didn't work out. You're either going to get someone that sits there and is sympathetic and respects that you've tried something and really worked at it and committed to it for a couple of years, or you're going to get someone that's going to be a bit more old school and look at you and say, well, that was a waste, and decide that you're not employable material. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge in itself, and it is a risk. But you never know, it's a risk that might be worth taking. And also, just to reiterate the point that I've raised towards the beginning, it is very easy for something that you love to become a job. For example, before I started working in insurance, I started off as a tennis coach. Been playing tennis since... Been playing tennis for getting on about 15 years, probably when I started gaming as well. And there's a point where I did that as coaching. I spent 3 years while I was at school and college thinking I want to be a tennis coach. And to be fair, I did my qualifications, I sent a load of emails, I worked for it. I got that job from when I walked out of college. Or it was set up before I walked out of college, actually. So I kind of let things go. I didn't get the grades that I needed. I was well short of the grades I needed to get into my first choice university. I wasn't fussed enough by my second choice to go for that. I put it all my eggs in one basket. Let's do this coaching thing. Absolutely hated it. What I didn't realise is that when you start out as a tennis coach, it's not about coaching so much, it's more about crowd control. It's like you get given a group of 15, 7-year-olds and you've got to try and get something out of it for them whilst trying to keep them under control, whilst keeping you cool, etc. I absolutely hated it, and within 3 months that was all over, and I had to grab the first job that came up, and it happened to be insurance, and I've stayed there ever since. But yeah, for that, I hated it. For me to go into commentary, well, at the moment, to be completely honest, I'm not a huge planner. I'm more like jump in, very last minute, little to no research, and then wing it and try and make it sound like I know what I'm talking about. And more often than not, I get away with it. Same thing as the early example. If you get yourself into a team where you're being sent to events, being sponsored, being paid potentially with your salaries, you have to keep your performance up. Which means for me, instead of doing things on the fly, I would have to research. I would have to watch games. I would have to spend the sort of time that you guys, if you want to go the playing route, would spend practicing. I would have to spend researching, reading, watching footage, making notes, preparing. And then if I was doing all of that, same thing comes about. I would not enjoy that. I know for a fact I wouldn't enjoy that, and it would be the same thing as sitting at my desk plugging away doing my current job. It wouldn't be that I would hate it, but I wouldn't be enjoying it in quite the way that I did have. It would come down to something that I do to pay the bills, and when you're at that sort of point, it doesn't really make any odds about whether you're playing games or whether you're sitting at a desk, answering phones, laying bricks, fixing cars, whatever. If it comes down to what's paying the bills, you want to go for the thing that's going to earn you the most money, make it easier, give you more money in your pocket so you can enjoy your weekends and stuff like that, and things to do in your social time, and your priorities very quickly shift away from the enjoyment. I can tell you that. So yeah, if you do decide that gaming is a route you want to go down, or you know what, apply this to anything that's sort of self-driven, self-employed, if you like. If you are prepared to give up your evenings, your weekends, your social time, to be committed, to treat it like a job, to eat right, to practice right, practice hard, you know the kind of lines I'm going down. If you think you've got that in you, then you have a chance at succeeding, but it's only a chance, and there is a lot you would have to give up to make that happen. Same thing if you want to get really good grades, you have to give up your gaming time and your social time, and you have to be hitting the books if you want to get those straight A's. If you want to build up your own company selling Herbalife or whatever along that kind of line, you have to work hard for it. You have to hit social media hard. You have to keep ramming it down people's throats. You have to work harder than anyone. Evenings and weekends are the time when people are available. That's when you need to be hitting them. That's when you need to be speaking to them. You've got a very narrow market because everyone's at work at weekdays, but you've still got to be doing something productive to fill your time. It's like anything. If it's self-driven, if you can really put that time in, you can succeed. It's not guaranteed by any stretch. You're going to need a lot of luck along the line as well. But as we say, short answer, can you make a career out of gaming? Yes, and there are multiple routes that you can go down. You have to choose the one that's right for you and go for it. But there are many pitfalls, and I won't keep going over them again. Just have a listen back to this, or have a bit of a think. If you're going to sit down and do this, work out where are your strengths, where are your weaknesses, what opportunities have you got to exploit it, and where are you potentially going to fall down? Where are your banana skins? What's your backup plan if you're 2.5, 3 years down the line and you are no further along and you've got your parents pushing you to get a job, or they're going to kick you out? What do you do then? Where's your get out plan? You need to have all of this worked out in your head before you even set foot on this, because you'll talk to people and they will say, that's a terrible idea, why are you doing this? If one of my kids said to me, I want to make a career in gaming right now, not that I have kids, I would be saying, that's a terrible idea in itself, what's your plan? And I would want to see a proper plan of, this is how I'm going to do it, this is how much it's going to cost me, this is how much I think I can earn out of it, this is my get out clause if this hasn't worked out in a year, 18 months, 2 years, whatever. With all of that, with a proper plan in place, I would say, yeah, okay, I can support you on this, or I could say, I can't support you on this because of X, Y, and Z. If you properly write things down and go that way with it, and that is what you have to do. You can't go into this half-baked saying, I want a career in gaming, I'm going to make it happen, I don't know how yet, I don't know what I'm going to do if it doesn't work, I don't need to think about what happens if it doesn't work. No, you haven't got a chance. So yeah, plan well, plan thoroughly, really think, look inside yourself, soul search, have you got this in yourself to even have a proper go at it? If you haven't, then I'm sorry, but concentrate on studies. If you're still at that point, decide what degree, what career you want to go into, work towards that, get the grades you need, and then focus on the academic and then the work route, because that will be so much better for you. And I'm sitting there and thinking, yeah, it would have been nice to have a bit of a run at the commentary thing. Would I change anything if I could do it all again and have a stab at it? Would I go any different to what I've gone now? No, not at all, because life for me is great. I've got a good job, a nice car. I've lived, since I moved out of home, a couple of nice flats. I'm looking at a mortgage and owning a car. I've got a girlfriend, a very solid long-term relationship. Never been happier during that point. I get to do this YouTube thing and upload videos, and it's not like a chore or job. I absolutely love it. Again, you'll notice that my uploading schedule is very sporadic, and apologies for that, but as I say, I'm working full time and got the relationship to look after and spend time with her, so other priorities come into it, and that's fine. I'm quite happy for that to be the case, and for Eclipse Gaming TV to make me naffle money. I'm not doing it for the money, which is kind of a nice place to be in. And then when I do record videos, I enjoy it. Hopefully that comes across. Hopefully you guys, when you watch it, enjoy it as well. And yeah, I'll do the best I can to take your feedback on board to try and make it a better experience for you as well. And yeah, I wouldn't complain. I wouldn't change a thing at all from what I've done. And I think for you guys, it's got to be exactly the same. If you're going to go for this, then enjoy it. Leave nothing on the table. Leave no regrets. Say if you had a push and it didn't work, you tried your absolute hardest to make it happen. If you decide, no, can't do it, and you have to cut back your gaming and just do it as a thing for fun, then have at it. Once you get that full-time job and you're looking at potential relationships and the like, then the time spent behind a PC playing games is going to get cut down. But you can still enjoy it and get a group of friends that are in the same kind of ilk and carry on playing in the evenings once you're finished work and take pleasure out of it and enjoy it and get the most fun out of gaming as you can. If that means not taking it anywhere near as seriously as you used to, then fair play, do it, get what you can out of it. Life has to come first, and like anything, gaming is a really tough thing to get into. It's like football. Most footballers don't make it, and then they go and get themselves regular jobs at the end of the day. If that's what your life happens to become, well, at least you can look back and say you had a lot of fun playing football for as long as it lasted, for example. Yeah, those are my words of advice as such, and I'm definitely rambling too much now, so I'll cut it short. Thank you very much for watching. If you've got any comments or feedback on this, or any thoughts or things that I didn't mention, then throw those in the comments section, and I would recommend that you guys check that out, because you might find some very sage advice and things that I hadn't thought of down there. If you have enjoyed this, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because there's a real multitude of stuff that is going to be going on there in the coming months. But until then, thank you very much, and I will catch you next time.